The city lights blurred as Layla walked down the dark street. It was just another quiet night, or so she thought. Suddenly, a shiver ran down her spine, not from the cold, but from something else. Something strange. A newspaper rustled on the pavement, then lifted into the air, dancing in the dim glow of a streetlight. A small toy plane on a nearby windowsill rattled, then took flight, circling her head. A soft blue light began to emanate from her own hands. What's happening? From down the block, a familiar voice cut through her confusion. Layla, are you okay? It was Ryan running towards her, his face a mask of concern. She couldn't answer. She could only stare at her glowing hands and the impossible things happening around her. Back in the safety of her room, the world outside seemed to fade away. The only thing that mattered was this new, terrifying and exhilarating feeling coursing through her. She looked at a stack of books on her desk, concentrating hard. They trembled, then lifted an inch off the surface before clattering back down. She tried again, this time with a pencil. It shot across the room like an arrow, embedding itself in the wall. A gasp escaped her lips. This power. It was real. Ryan, who had been watching from the doorway, stepped in cautiously. You need to be careful, Layla. This is a lot. She turned to him, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and wonder. I know. But if I can control this, I could do something amazing or catastrophic. Ryan placed a hand on her shoulder, his expression serious. You need to stay calm, Layla. Power comes with responsibility. His words were meant to ground her, but her mind was already soaring with possibilities, picturing papers flying at her command, lights bending to her will. This was the beginning of everything. The next day at school felt surreal. The mundane chatter of the hallways, the squeak of sneakers on linoleum, it all seemed like a movie playing in the background. As she walked to her locker, a cold spot in the air made her freeze. A flicker of movement in the corner of her eye. She turned, and there it was. A figure, darker than any shadow, stood at the far end of the hall, its form indistinct yet utterly menacing. A voice like scraping metal and whispering wind echoed directly in her mind. You possess what I want. You cannot escape. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Ryan, who was walking beside her, saw her expression. What is it? Layla pointed a trembling finger. The shadow. But as quickly as it appeared, it dissolved into the throng of students, leaving nothing but a lingering chill. This isn't just a test, she thought, her hands clenched into fists. It's a warning. I must become stronger. The days that followed were a tightrope walk. At home, a simple argument with her parents caused the lights to flicker violently. During a class presentation, her nervousness made every pen in the room rattle. Her power was a part of her, but it felt like a wild animal she couldn't tame. Ryan noticed her struggle. Layla, power without control is dangerous. Don't let it control you. He was right, but it was so hard. I know, she admitted, her voice barely a whisper, but sometimes it feels like it controls me instead. Just then, the familiar coldness seeped into the room. The lights dimmed and the shadow materialized from a dark corner, its form more solid this time. Fear makes you weak, it hissed, its voice slithering into her thoughts. Surrender to the power and you'll become stronger than me. A wave of dark energy washed over her, tempting her, promising an end to her struggle. For a terrifying second, she almost gave in. The final confrontation was inevitable. The shadow had lured her to the school rooftop, the city sprawling beneath them like a silent audience. The wind whipped around her, carrying the shadow's taunts. You are weak, alone. Layla's power flared, a brilliant blue shield deflecting a bolt of dark energy. The force of the impact sent loose tiles skittering across the roof. She was struggling, the shadow's raw strength overwhelming her. But then Ryan's voice cut through the chaos from the rooftop door. You're not alone. Remember who you are. His words were the anchor she needed. She wasn't just a vessel for this power, she was Layla. She was smart, she was determined, and she was not afraid. Instead of meeting force with force, she started to think. She used her power not just to push, but to pull, to weave, to shape. She deflected the shadow's attacks, redirecting its own dark energy, creating a vortex. The shadow roared in frustration, but it was too late. With a final focused push, Layla slammed the vortex shut, trapping the entity in a prison of its own making. A massive explosion of pure white light lit up the night sky, and then silence. She dropped to her knees, breathing heavily. Finally, I've learned to control my power. Standing on the edge of the rooftop, Layla looked out over the now peaceful city. The cool night air felt clean, refreshing. Ryan came and stood beside her, a proud smile on his face. She looked at her hands, which no longer glowed with chaotic energy, but held a calm, steady light. Power isn't just about what you can do, she said, a newfound confidence in her voice. It's about who you are when you use it. A gentle light pulsed from her one last time before fading, a silent promise to the city below. Did you enjoy Layla's adventure? If you want to see what happens next, don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell for more stories, and leave a like to show your support. Thanks for watching.